share your stories, join in on the conversation. We're here to support each other on this journey. Use super chats to highlight important questions or comments. We're so glad you're here and can't wait to hear from you.
Good evening.
Hello, folks.
Hope everybody's doing great tonight, and happy May the 4th be with you. Got my Yoda here.
There it is.
Do or do not. There is no try.
That's correct.
That's something to live by right there.
That is correct. Let's see. Mr. Dustin, looks like you're muted, my friend.
That's what I get. I boomered it. All right, boomer town. I'm like, thanks for clicking on this video and talking and going on, and nothing's coming out. But anyway, welcome back to Keto Crusade. We know it's been a minute. No episode in April. We apologize for that. And we want to, just let you know that we were busy. I mean, this is a very, we try to fit this in where we can. Life happens, but the mission remains. And we're back stronger than ever, and a topic that hits deep. Tonight, we're talking about something that affects millions, obesity. But we're flipping the script. Obesity isn't the disease, it's a symptom. And tonight, we're going to talk about what's really signaling, why your scale might be lying to you, why your healing journey is so much bigger than a number. So let's go.
Yeah, I feel like, a lot of people, they think they're doing everything right. That's why I tell people, when you start out, throw the scale away for a little bit. Just, do what you need to do. You could be eating clean, you could be sleeping good, you could be, walking, and then the scale didn't reflect that. But, I always say, go by how you feel. If your clothes are looser, then it's working. Don't worry about the scale. There's a lot of things within your body that are happening that you don't even know about. Your body's a lot smarter than we are. Any of the three of us combined, your body is amazing, and there's things behind the scenes that you may not even know about. What's going on. So we're going to break that down and talk about what true healing, and in some forms it could be weight loss, some forms it's different things that happen within your body, but we're going to talk about that tonight a little bit.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited to talk about this because, I've talked quite a bit on my channel about this, and I've talked with Dustin and Victor about this at length as we've supported each other in this whole journey that we're on. But I still have weight to lose, and I am totally okay with that because I'm doing the things that it's going to take to lose it. But focusing on the weight as the problem is in itself, I think, a major problem with this kind of perspective that holds so many people back. I'm looking forward to diving in and just kind of giving you guys some thoughts on that because I've been right in the middle of it, and I'm still in the middle of it, and that's all right. But we're all on our own journey here, and we're going to talk about kind of what that looks like and what really, really matters.
And that's just one of those things. Like, I've been living this life for so long, not just the keto life, but also just this weight loss journey for decades. Nothing, trying to finally find something that helps me, that works, that is for the first time sustainable. So it's one of those things, like when you finally find something that truly clicks for you, you want to remove obstacles. And the scale can be an obstacle. Comparison to others can be a major obstacle. So we want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success. And that's where, like what Victor said, put the scale away for a while. Don't worry about it. Just focus on getting yourself where you need to be in a rhythm that fits you, that can take a while. That can take months sometimes. I mean, and there's no harm in that. Figuring out what works for you. You don't know going into this, is loose keto going to work for me? Is it going to be strict keto? Do I need to go carnivore? Do I got to go lion for a while? These are all things that we've got to nail down individually, because there's no one size fits all plan for each and one of us. So I think that's why it's so important for us to get together, the three of us, with all of you, and break this down, because I think these things kind of get lost in translation along the way with so many different creators and so many different people in the chats, so many different stories. And it truly is, I think, probably one of the most beneficial episodes we'll do this year, I think.
And there's so many, so many buzzwords that go on within keto. Somebody was asking today about hyper keto. So this is a new thing. And a lot of it is, it's redundant. A lot of it, it's sometimes, like I've called high pro. Some people would call it like protein, modified fasting, or protein sparing modified fasting, or, there's all kind of different buzzwords that can go on within, keto, or, the low carb, or, the full proper human diet spectrum. But at the end of the day, it's kind of all about you experimenting with yourself and what's going to work for you. I get a lot of people that are fine doing dirty keto. There's a lot of people that try carnivore. It works great for them. Some people won't work at all. Dirty keto doesn't work for a lot of people. I had I want to read this later on, but we'll get to this now. But I had a fantastic testimony in my private group today. Somebody's been following me for a long time, and I've kind of given her suggestions. And she hit a weight loss stall. I think she's hit a lot of the health goals and things that she's trying to accomplish, but she was stuck in her weight loss, and just wasn't feeling good as far as that goes. And she finally broke it after some suggestions. But it's really all about finding out what works for you. Like Dustin said, you may need to do lion diet for a while. If you got some serious medical things, or you need to figure out what your food allergens are, you may need to go down to a totally clean diet with no possible allergens in it, like the lion diet, and start slowly adding things back in, for healing, and possibly for weight loss and other things. So it's a totally individual thing. Takes a lot of experimentation, and these two guys have done it. I've done it, and so collectively, between the three of us, hopefully we can figure out something that'll work for you.
That's right. So when we were talking about this subject matter, I was really interested in us talking about this, because I told Victor and Dustin about this experience, but I was on the Dr. Kilt's podcast that he was filming while they were down here in Tennessee. And Ash and I went over and we were filming that with him, and we love Dr. Kilt, such a great guy. And we had a great time. And, it was interesting. And I've heard him say this before, but he kind of brought this subject up again as we were filming the podcast. And he said, is obesity the cause of any disease? And I thought, for a second about that, and I'd heard him say this before, but it really kind of impacted me the way that he said that. And he was like, no, obesity is not the cause of any diseases. Obesity is a symptom that happens with all of these other metabolic problems. There can be a lot of reasons for obesity. There can be a lot of factors that go into obesity. But when you stand and look in the mirror and you see extra weight on your body, what you're really talking about when you say you want to lose weight is you want to lose fat, because nobody wants to lose healthy muscle tissue and healthy bone and their eyeball cells. Like, no one wants their eyeballs getting skinny. You know what I mean? So what you're really talking about is you want to lose extra fat, the unhealthy fat. And there's things like your fat cells can hang on to toxins, and they can release estrogen, and yeah, sure, there's all different sorts of things that can result from you having the fat. But the actual having of fat is not causing disease. And having fat on your body is actually a really important thing. Like, you have to have some fat, because if you had absolutely zero fat on your body, you would die. So having some fat is necessary. But the thing that I thought was really interesting when Dr. Kilt said this, and the reason that I grabbed onto that, and then I started talking with, Dustin and Victor about my thoughts about this and why we thought this would be such a good thing to talk with you all about. When you say fat is not causing the problem, basically, obesity is not the disease, it is the symptom. It's not that there's anything wrong with trying to lose the fat, burn through the fat, and get healthier. Of course, that's a great thing. But I have recognized, Ash and I have talked about this, I've talked about this with Victor and Dustin, we have recognized there is an inappropriate level of focus that is put on, do you have extra fat on your body? Like, that is the conversation sometimes, I feel like, where it's the only conversation that's happening. And because of that, I see people who are struggling, who are trying to figure out their health, who are trying to improve their lives. They almost end up in this, like, inside their own head whirlwind, like they can't figure out what to do, because no matter what they do, they don't seem to lose weight. Right? Like, okay, confetti, we're not losing weight. So they're not losing weight, and with confetti either. They're not losing weight, and therefore they think something is wrong. And so we have this knee-jerk reaction where I'm not losing weight fast enough, therefore something must be wrong with what I'm doing, therefore I'm going to change. And it's like, but are you feeling amazing? And do you have energy? And are all of these other markers in your body healing? And is all of this other stuff changing for you? Because if it is, maybe the fat is just one of the last symptoms that will finally go away as you're healing yourself. But now if you go and change what you're doing and you try something else and then it's not working, and then you try something else and it's not working, and you just bounce from thing to thing to thing to thing, and you're blaming all of it not working because you're not losing fat, right? You're not getting the fat off your body in what you think is the appropriate time frame. How in the world would we ever be able to sort out what was actually working and what wasn't, if the only measure of whether we're successful or not is how skinny we are? So yes, losing the excess body fat is a good thing. Getting rid of that excess weight, it's putting pressure on your joints. It's not a pleasant thing. It does hold on to things like toxins, and estrogen gets all messed up in your hormones and all of this. Absolutely. It's not a good thing for you to have a bunch of extra fat. But I think we're focused sometimes as a community so much on fat that we forget that, truthfully, the fat is probably the last of the symptoms that we want to fix itself. Like, yeah, we want to lose the weight, but I wanted my anxiety to go away. I wanted my depression to go away. I wanted the fact that I was headed in the direction of maybe even someday getting to the point of self-harm and ending my own life. Like, I wanted those kinds of patterns in my brain. I wanted that to go away. I wanted my food addiction to go away. I wanted my lack of concern for anything in my life to go away. I wanted my pain to go away. How big of a stomach I have, as much as I would like to say, like, walk around like, oh, I've got a six-pack, look at me, I look great. That has the tiniest little bit of impact in my life comparatively to all of these other things that I have healed and changed and reversed as a result of eating a proper human diet. And I think that losing fat is a good thing when we see it as the symptom of better health, rather than seeing it as a focus of, this is the only thing we care about. And I think Ash and I were having this conversation earlier today, and I said, I think what's really interesting is, as a community, and this is why we wanted to encourage you guys to realize that, yes, losing your extra fat is a good thing, but be careful of how you focus on that. And is that truly the most important thing or not? You need to think about this, because as a community, if all we do is lean into this idea of, we have to be skinny, we have to lose our fat, we have to force our body to do something, well, honestly, we're starting to lean back in that direction of what big food and big pharma do, where they market how great you're going to look and how great everything is going to be if you just use their product, whether it's eating their food or using their medication or whatever the thing is, it's going to magically make everything work. And it's like we're taking the same mindset and we're applying it to a proper human diet of how can I force my body to do a thing that it wasn't naturally meant to do. And when you take that thought process and you put it back into that, we as a community then start to live into the exact same thing that we're trying to get away from big pharma and big food, and saying that, the things that they're promoting are not the right things to promote because it's harming people. Well, as a community, if we're promoting do anything and everything and lose that fat at all cost, we're kind of doing the same thing. We may have a slightly different motivation for it, but we end up doing the same thing. So I just want to encourage everyone out there who's still on this journey, who is trying to lose their weight, who's trying to improve their health. When you look in the mirror and you see if you have extra fat that you still want to lose, well, first of all, join the club, me too. But instead of focusing on that and thinking like, I'm so fat, I'm so ugly, I'm so this, I'm so that, instead of running yourself down and thinking you are failing, stop and look at that and go, okay, there's the symptom of the fact that I still have more work to do. Now, how do I make myself healthier? How do I make myself feel better, have more energy, have healthier habits? And how do I learn to let my body be what it needs to be and let my body do what it's supposed to do naturally, and learn to love the process and realize that if the only thing I care about is having a flat, skinny stomach and then it's going to make that happen at all costs, that's just the societal pressure if you have to look a certain way to be worthwhile as a human being. That's no different than people that are airbrushing models that they're putting on magazines because a real human being can't possibly be good enough. We have to digitally enhance it to make them what the ideal person is supposed to be like. And none of us is supposed to live up to that because it's not real. So if we're going to do things in a way that's ancestrally appropriate, as the buzz term is, and if we're going to do all of this stuff that is supposed to be good for our health, then don't focus on the symptom of the disease, focus on reversing the disease itself. Because what does Big Pharma do? They treat symptoms. That's what we all talk about in this community, is that we treat symptoms and we use medication to make ourselves feel better temporarily without having to actually change our life. Focusing on losing fat above and all other things and not seeing it as the symptom rather than the disease itself is to use the exact same mindset. So that really just landed with me really hard when Dr. Kilt said that. And I'd heard him say it before, but for some reason it just hit me a little deeper that time. And I really got thinking about that. So yes, try to get rid of that extra fat, do the things to change your life, change your body, change your health, do all of these positive things. But please, all of you out there, if you are like me, and you still have extra weight to lose, please don't look in the mirror and think because you have some extra fat on your body that you're just doing everything wrong and you're a failure and you have to force something to happen, or you need to inject yourself with stuff, or you need to go run 100 miles a day, or you need to harm yourself in an effort to try to force your body to do something that may not be ready to do yet. Just my 2 cents on the whole reason that we're even talking about this tonight.
Yeah, and one of the most powerful things I've ever heard is Dr. Berg. I'm a big fan of Dr. Berg. He kind of does the same type of keto that I like, and he says that you don't lose weight to get healthy. You get healthy and then lose weight. That's probably the last. That for a lot of people, that's the last part. You got to do a lot of healing first, and then once that's done, then you can focus on the weight loss. But I mean, I can tell you, even within the community here, and not naming names or anything, but I mean, there's just certain people within any community, no matter what diet you're looking at, they just don't look healthy. And they're running, they're like Chris, they're running, 30, 40 miles, I mean, just extreme things. And, are they healthy? Maybe not. Just because someone looks a certain way doesn't mean they're healthy. And just because somebody has a little extra fat doesn't mean they aren't healthy either. So, it can go both ways. The models in the magazine, they could be doing, tons of drugs to get that way and die of a heart attack tomorrow, but they look good, right? Whereas somebody that has some extra pounds, you know, society may say, oh, well, they're not healthy. Well, you don't know that, you know, look at their blood work, look at their labs, and then tell me which way is better.
It is kind of strange that there's two ways that society looks at things. And maybe there's obviously, you know, if you're thin, you've got to be healthy. And then there's also the take that we see, and I don't know if it's necessarily kind of run its course, but then there's the healthy at any size. And I was always a big proponent of, you know, like the anti, you know, the fat shaming and stuff, because with that, we don't want that. Because you don't want to discourage someone from living, you know, living life by just telling them you're fat. Because no one's ever just go, oh, really? I didn't even know. That's like when I was over 400 pounds, I'm shopping for 5X t shirts and 50+ inch pants. I knew I was fat. Whether I really registered or not was a whole other thing. And you could have walked up to me any day of the week and go, dude, did you know you're fat? Yeah. Didn't mean I was ready to do anything about it because I didn't know what to do. And and I think we get so much misinformation, the healthy at any size. They're blaming that obesity is just genetic. But where did that come from the last 50 years? All of a sudden, our genes edited in the last 50 years, and now we have an issue with obesity built into our genes, and we're not covering up the fact that the food supply that we have is a disaster. And then you have, you know, then you have people that look unhealthy, who probably feel unhealthy, even though they're skinny. And I mean, I see, and I'm no expert, and I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, but I see some people in our communities, like in some of the carnivore communities and such, and they don't necessarily look all that healthy. They're in great shape, but I don't necessarily know if they look healthy. And maybe they're running themselves ragged, and they're being pulled in too many directions, and they're doing too much. But you have to, you know, you have to look at all the things. So that's the whole thing where you're talking about, I want to be healthy. That's gonna come from healing. That's gonna come from finding a clear path for yourself. And I know that's the problem. Expect, you know, in all facets of this community, everybody looks at your weight. Because I mean, you know, there's been creators the entire time that I've been involved in this community from 2016 on. You know, they weren't thin. And people are like, well, if you've been doing this so long, how come you're not skinny? And here I am the same way. I'm not skinny. You know, I'm a lot better off than when I started, but there's been some yo-yoing in there, you know. So you know, I think it's so vital that we get together and we showcase these ideas and we lay a lot of these major misconceptions to rest, because we want to we want to make sure that we want to make sure that we are putting people's health first and not just saying, well, you're not skinny, you're losing. Um, I want to address, I saw a couple of super chats, and let me look at that and bring up these things. There's a super chat here. Well, it looks like you got a new member, Chris. Rancid Pandemic just became a member.
Excellent. Welcome, Rancid Pandemic. Glad to have you.
And Adrian on my side, Adrian Gledhill, a fantastic person. She's amazing. She says, I promise GLP-1 is not what we thought it was. I actually address hormone signaling. Let's see. It actually addresses hormone signaling, is a game changer coupled with meat and weights. So like that's one thing that I think there's probably some misconceptions probably going both ways when it comes to GLP-1s. I'm not educated enough to really necessarily talk fully on about GLP-1s. I do know that there are some complications that we see, and I don't know if that's misdirection by if that's like what's the word I'm looking for, where they give the misdosing, if they're giving out too much, or if there's something going on with the person they're giving it to that they didn't know about. because I know that Chandra being an an ICU nurse, she's seen some of the complications firsthand, and so I know that it's helping some. Like my aunt is on it, and she's losing weight, but I don't know necessarily if she's losing fat or if she's losing body mass. And I know there is some evidence that there's a body mass reduction over fat loss. But like I said, I don't know enough to truly speak on it, but I am a skeptical person. And but I also know that someone like Adrian is going to hopefully put herself through the paces before taking something like this. So I would trust, and she says she also needs a good salmon burger recipe.
Yes, I think I can help you on the salmon burger. I'll see what comes to mind, Adrian. On the GLP-1s, I'm kind of like Dustin in this, where I don't really feel like I'm um, educated enough or smart enough to, really go super in depth. My biggest concern with them, and I am more than happy to be proven wrong, that I have any reason to be skeptical or anything. And if there is information that comes out and it really helps the community and it helps people that need it, I'm great with that. My biggest my biggest concern with the GLP-1 thing, because, and again, I don't have enough information to feel exactly one way or the other, but my biggest immediate concern is that anytime there is a large corporation that stands to make a lot of money by telling you something is good for you, I immediately have just a knee jerk reaction now where I start to not trust that that's true. And that's not necessarily fair. Maybe GLP-1s are great, and maybe that's me making them pay for the sins of the exes, as it were, right? Like we pay for the sins of the past of other people in a relationship. Maybe this is the same thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm making GLP-1s pay for all of the other pharmaceutical things that have harmed people in the past. I'm not sure. I am withholding any kind of a judgment one way or the other on it until there's more information. But I think for me personally, my biggest uh, hesitation with anything like that is that somebody out there is able to make a lot of money, and that immediately, it's human nature that immediately starts making me questioning, um, is there something we're not being told? Has this truly been studied this way? Because 500 years ago, people didn't have GLP-1s to stay healthy, and so how did they do it? So that's just my initial reaction to it. I don't know enough to say that I think they are for sure bad. Um, I just tend to look at anything that comes from a pharmaceutical company as questionable at best, but that's just because of the experience that I've had up to this point. And I am happy to be proven wrong and potentially have it be something that really helps a lot of people if that's the case. I just have to see that information before I would probably really trust it, because of just everything that we've been through with pharmaceutical companies making billions of dollars off of people suffering and dying as a result.
Well, I have done a lot of research on GLP-1s. Your body naturally makes GLP-1s. And I've got a long history with one of the things that can naturally stimulate your GLP-1s. I've actually got a video coming out on Tuesday about that very thing. The biggest, and I think GLP-1s have their place, or GLP-1 agonist drugs basically is what it is, because your body naturally makes that. But the biggest problem is, and I've seen this over years and years of personal training background, holistic health practitioner background, all that. I mean, there's always a drug that comes out that people take and lose weight. If you don't go to the root of the root of the problem is not that your body's deficient in GLP-1. The root of the problem is you're not eating right. So you get a GLP-1 drug, you eat, a bag of Reese's peanut butter cups when you're actually hungry, because most of the time you're not. And you never address the problem. I mean, there's this is going to be, and you can watch any of the doctors. Dr. Barry, I think, has done a video on this before. Anybody that's actively treating patients are seeing some of the side effects now. Because I mean, it's still relatively new for weight loss, but there's going to be a lot of side effects to this. Um, you know, there's already you can see in the celebrities and things, somebody loses a lot of weight real fast, and you can look and see the muscle wasting, and there's a lot of issues, and like Chris says, a pharmaceutical thing. So you're not going to have probably a lot of research that backs that up. All you can go by right now is what the doctors are telling you. They're actually treating patients. I've got somebody coming on one of my lives that's actually done this in practice and is seeing a lot of the side effects of what's going on right now. But if you don't address the root cause of the problem and you're just taking something because it makes you lose weight, and then right now some insurance is covering it, a lot of insurance companies are not covering it, and it'll get cheaper over time. As more drugs become available, and more of them try to do it, but the insurance is not going to cover it for a lot of people. So there's going to be some issues, and once you take those, and it's going to help as long as you're taking it. When it doesn't, your metabolism's wrecked, and then once you go back to eating the way that you did before, you're going to gain all that weight plus some. And it's just not going to end up being a good thing, in my opinion. And look for that live. I got somebody really cool coming on to talk about it one day. But yeah, I've done a lot of research about it, and like I said, there's some studies out there that are older studies just about GLP-1 in general, but there's not a lot about the drugs right now. So we'll just wait for some of those to come in, and just go on and see some of the doctors on YouTube and other places, and some of their personal experience seeing patients and what's going on in the background there. But GLP-1 is great for anytime you add something to the body. Most times your body's not going to produce it naturally at the same level it did, because it doesn't need to. It's going to go on to do something else. And I feel like this is my opinion, but over time, I feel like that's going to be a problem, is your body's natural ability to do that. So much better to take something naturally. If you need some help, like if you're trying to intermittent fast and you have a real problem with appetite or whatever the case may be, much better to do something natural. It'll kind of get behind your body's systems to produce it naturally, than to take a drug to do that, unless you plan on taking it for the rest of your life. If you do, great. If you got the money to do it, and you don't see any health consequences because of it, but just know, if you take it, you're taking it for the long term.
Yeah, I just want to touch on this comment here. It says Dr. Boz, and I think that, and I want to say maybe Adrian's working with Dr. Boz as well, but Dr. Boz has some interesting comments on the GLP-1, when GLP-1s are useful. She promotes keto and mostly focuses on food instead of drugs, but she thinks there are situations where it has a place. And I think, and I agree with that. I think there's a lot of things that we come across that do have a place when all else fails. I think there's a lot, there's people who are going to try with keto and carnivore, and they're just going to struggle and struggle. They're not going to get to a place where they're comfortable, and they're struggling, and a doctor's going to prescribe them this, and that may jumpstart things. So I can't necessarily ever say that this is a complete negative, but I think we have to look at, and I don't understand it, but I think that I know they're doing it a high level dose, or high dose, and maybe that's an issue. I don't know, but it's definitely something that I think we're going to find out more as time goes on. Um, Gentlemen, do we want to go ahead and address some of the people in the chat? Just kind of say hello to some of our friends.
Yeah, and I do want to say, I don't think it's a total negative either. I think there's definitely places for it. I mean, somebody that's morbidly obese and can't. I mean, there's definitely situations where I think that it's useful. It's just not. It's not what you want to take to get skinny for a vacation. You know what I'm saying?
The sort of analogy that came to my mind as Victor was saying that, and as we were looking at that Dr. Boz thing, I do think there probably are situations where it works and where it's very helpful and maybe really beneficial to some people. I think the danger, and this is as a community, this is why we all need to work together to try to understand this so that we can put the best information out there. There are situations where an amputation is also recommended. And that doesn't mean that everyone should be rushing out to go get an amputation because that's going to just be the greatest thing that changes your life. It's like there may be circumstances where certain things are really helpful, and then that same thing can be harmful to somebody else because it's not maybe the best thing because it was maybe for a more extreme case. So I'm not saying that that's what a GLP-1 is. I'm just saying we have to approach any of this kind of stuff, I think, with common sense and realize that just because there are certain circumstances where it's good does not mean it can necessarily be good in all circumstances. And we need to do a lot of research and just be cautious before we go diving into, again, paying for something pharmaceutical because history repeats itself, and we've seen that happen again and again and again and again, and the lawsuits come, and then it just turns into a big thing. So I don't want anyone out there, whether they decide to use GLP-1s or not, I don't want anyone out there to just go make blind decisions because you saw some crazy guy on the internet said it was great. We just all have to be smart and make good decisions about this. And I just try to avoid that stuff for my own self unless there's just no other option, just personally.
Dustin, you're muted.
Boomer.
I mute myself because I don't want to make any noise, and then I'm like, I'll just start talking, duper duper duper. But anyway, Rick is in the house from Twin Brick Acres. Thank you so much, Rick, for being here.
Yeah.
And we've got Carrie's in the house. He said, hit the like button a million, trillion, zillion times. That'd be really nice. I wonder what that would do to the algorithm.
That's right. That's right. Blow up YouTube.
Yes.
Yep.
And our friend Eva Lynn is in the house.
Hello, Evelyn.
And we've got Rock and Keto Amy's in the house.
Hey, Amy.
She said, "Hey, Victor. Let's see. We've got a lot of people in here tonight. We got Debbie is here. Scrolling, Baz. If I miss you, my apologies. We got Amy's in the house. Lewis Stone is here.
Hey, there's one of my guys, Lewis.
And I want to get to let's see. I want to get to some of the questions we have and some of the comments. I've got a bunch of things starred here. Let's see. A lot. So I'm scrolling up here.
Hey, and Donna's here tonight. I don't have a troll, so thanks for being here.
All right, Donna's going to throw the hammer down.
That's right.
So Amy's here for Victor. She says, I just want to make, I just made your burnt butter pecan bits. Holy moly, they smell wonderful. I can't wait for them to cook. I licked the spoon and my knees went weak.
Yeah, that's what happens to me too. It's hard to get through cooking them when you're on the floor. So I understand. Glad you tried them.
So maybe I think if you're going to fall on the floor, I think you need to put Old Yeller as a helmet, buddy.
Right on.
Melissa TX is in the house, and they say that my scale says I only lost 3 pounds in March, but I went from having to turn 180 degrees to 15 degrees to get through the baby gate.
See, that is awesome. That is awesome. That's what it's all about. Don't look at the scale. How are your clothes fitting? And that right there, from turning sideways to doing that, I mean, that's what it's all about.
That's a really good real life example of when we say the scale will lie to you and will not give you the whole story. That right there is a perfect picture of how the scale doesn't mean crap.
And John says, I had a friend suggestion from Facebook today, someone I never heard of, Pastor Bob Beeman. He said he seemed like an interesting character, so I clicked on his page.
Yes, that's my buddy, Pastor Bob, the heavy metal pastor, and that's where Asher and I go to church now. We go to Sanctuary, and Pastor Bob is on a carnivore diet. He has lost 140 pounds. He has reversed his arthritis to where he can play piano again. He has reversed his type 2 diabetes completely. He ended up going through some cancer treatment. He ended up in the hospital dealing with prostate cancer, which is how he ended up finding out that he was diabetic and all these other things. And once they went through all those treatments, carnivore has kept that completely gone. That is all completely healed. Everything is good. He's back to traveling around the world. And oh, by the way, he was a vegan for 40 years, and he went keto and then carnivore because he was laying in a hospital bed saying, if this worked, if veganism worked, if pharmaceuticals worked, if all of these things I've been told worked, I wouldn't be laying in this hospital bed. And he started ignoring what the medical system told him and started doing his own thing. So he is not only an amazing story for carnivore, but he also uses his energy to work with multiple different ministries where they get women and children out of human trafficking. And he just does, like, he is an awesome guy and a very, very good friend. And he and his 95-year-old mother are both carnivore. She leans a little ketovore sometimes, but they are both on proper human diets and thriving, and they are very good friends. I'm so glad that you found him, John.
Jennifer Lucas says, while I struggle on the weight issue, I've cut my CAC score by 33% and am reversing osteopenia as evidenced by medical tests. And that's
Amazing.
flippin' incredible, because that's one of those things they say you can't go back.
It's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I think that's
Yeah. They say you get the calcium in your arteries, you're done. But that right there is proof that's not true. So that's awesome. Don't worry
Amazing.
about the cholesterol. Worry about the calcium.
That's right.
And Rockin' Keto, Amy, our good friend Amy, says, sometimes I feel invisible as a meat-heavy ketovore in the strict carnivore groups. I'm sure my handle with keto in the name doesn't help. And
Amy,
you're not invisible to us.
you're not invisible, Amy. And Dustin and Victor and I, before we went live, we were talking about this. I get so much backlash from the strict carnivore guys. And listen, if you're strict carnivore and that works for you and you're happy that way, I think it's amazing. I applaud you for doing it, and I think that's awesome. That does not help all the people out there who can't do that or don't want to do that or are not even interested in that or have never even heard of that. There is a place for everybody. And Amy, you are doing your thing. You're doing great, and just keep it up. You're not invisible. You're doing fantastic.
We really appreciate everything you do for this community, Amy. She was
Yeah.
very helpful in orchestrating the meetup that we had in Elkhart in April, and she really helped because she was on the ground and she was in Elkhart, the area, so she was able to do things that it was just not possible for me to do living 3 hours away. So, she's an amazing person, and I'm really glad I got a chance to meet her at KPL. So, and we've got Mr. Jeffrey Cox. Hello, all three spectacular souls. I've had 30 to 40 pounds to lose for the last 8 months, but I've been oxalate dumping for the last 6. I'm not nearly smart enough to micromanage my body's healing. I don't think any of us are.
Yes, I totally agree. And Jeff is a very smart guy. So Jeff is actually a part of the band, which is the private community that I have. And Dustin and Victor are both in there, and they've gone and got their private spaces in there where they do stuff too. And Jeff is one of our members over there, and he shares all kinds of stories about helping, like, his boss and patients he works with and coworkers, and teaching people about a proper human diet. And Jeff is a smart dude, and he deserves that superhero cape he's wearing there in his profile picture for his YouTube handle, because he's out there doing heroes work.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've seen him in the group some, and yeah, I hope to be after I get some of the projects done I'm working on now. I hope to be in the group a lot more, and but yeah, I'm in there and I check out what's going on too. So it's man, it's a great community you got going on there. So and glad I'm a part of it, and more to come in the future once I get done with some of the stuff I'm working on right now, which
Dustin's muting himself again.
Just, just you can read it. It's fine. It's fine.
Question. I am horrible at grilling. I have a brisket on the Barbie right now, trying to keep the temp around 225. It's been almost 10 hours and is far from done. What am I doing wrong? So, this is a really interesting question. So, the first thing that I would ask is, are you using an internal thermometer, like an internal temp thermometer? Because if you don't have a temperature probe in the middle of the brisket, it is hard to cook brisket well without a temperature probe. Okay, now I'm not saying there aren't barbecue masters that do it; they absolutely can. But brisket's a tough meat to work with because as you're finding out, it's very hard. And honestly, 10 hours is not necessarily that long for a brisket if you're cooking it really super low and slow. So if it's really far from done, then my guess is something is going on that you're not getting the heat to penetrate the meat properly. Something that you can try to do is if you smoked brisket for a while and you've gotten the smoky flavor on the outside, and it's like the temperature is stalled out. If you do have a temperature probe and it stalls and you're not able to get the internal temperature to come up again, wrap it in parchment paper or like butcher paper, and then wrap that in aluminum foil, tent it that way. That will help retain some of that heat and it will help you get past that sort of plateau that happens in temperature on meat when you're cooking and smoking. I mean, you're doing it right. You're keeping it down low. You're doing it low and slow, but it takes a long time. And you also need to know which part of the brisket you're temping. So the big fat part, that's called the point. There's two parts of a brisket. There's the point, which is the big rounded butt sort of end, and then there's the flat piece that sticks out in front, which is interestingly enough called the flat. The point is the one you want to temp because the flat will get cooked, but the point will still not be cooked all the way, and it's tough, and the fat's not rendered, and the collagen isn't broken down. So you want to temp the point. That's what you want to be done in the center is the point, but you want to do it nice and low and slow so you don't dry out that flat. But it takes a long time, and sometimes wrapping that brisket up can help a little bit. And if you ask me how I know, if you go too high and too fast, you end up with a real tough, dry brisket, and it's not particularly fun. So it takes a lot of patience and a lot of practice to get those briskets just right. Another thing you can do is you can do the smoke portion on the grill, wrap it up in the parchment and the foil, stick it in the oven on a low temperature, and that way you can just keep it in there and just let your oven take care of it from there. It's not necessarily as good, but you can do a pretty good brisket that way. That's my thoughts. What do you think about brisket, Victor?
Well, I think Chris, you're underselling your abilities because I think you can probably just feel it like that and say, "Oh yeah, it's done." For me, I'm not really a chef, so I can put some stuff together, but I always use internal thermometer any meats that I'm doing like that because I'm not that good. I mean, like your comment. I mean, the barbecuing's that's a skill. Chris is like a chef. I'm a I'm a okay cook. So I always use the internal thermometer. You can get them super cheap. I've got a nice Typher one that I have that they sent me that you can do 4 different meats at the same time, which is like what I used for Thanksgiving. But you can get a super cheap one. I had one for a while. I've got a electric smoker, which I love because you don't have to mess with checking temperatures. You add some wood chips in there, and it does the rest. So to me, that's how I like to do it. I like to keep it easy, and I'm not trying to learn to be a pit master, um, but yeah, you can get. I mean, you have $20 at Walmart. You can get one of those. Stick the probe in, put the temperature meter on the outside of the smoker, and you can do the same thing with that one too. The pellet grills are real easy, things like that. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I don't do any meat without sticking a temperature probe in it because I'm I'm not that guy.
Yeah, I just like to eat meat. Anyway, I always default to Chris when it comes to cooking anything. Here's something. And this is an important thing to talk about here as well. Jennifer Lucas says the obesity is a symptom. Excess weight is a major stress on your heart, joints. There are complications from having lots of excess weight. I mean, you have trouble breathing at night when you sleep. I mean, you have trouble breathing when you're awake. It does put pressure on the lungs. There are complications that arise from being 3, 4, 5, 600 pounds. And it's not to say that that fat doesn't cause complications. It's the fact that being fat isn't what caused you to have diabetes. Being fat isn't what caused you to have a lot of these issues. Being fat didn't cause the insulin resistance necessarily. But that being that fat is a symptom of much larger problems causing you to gain that weight, making it harder for you to breathe, making it harder for your heart to do what it does. And so I just want to make sure that people are aware of that, because I think that's a very valid point that I don't necessarily hear all that often when we are talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Obesity and the extra weight on your body is going to come with complications. Absolutely. The important thing to remember with that is that the fat is not what's causing the problem. It's honestly, it's the physics and the chemistry that happens as a result of the fat being there. But the fat is not the cause of your disease. The metabolic issues are the cause of your disease, and the fat is one of the symptoms of that metabolic issue. And then that fat comes with other complications like the pain and the stress for your heart and all of those things, which is then made even worse by the other damage that metabolic disease, which is what causes the fat. That metabolic disease is further complicating those other issues too.
Yeah, and it's like, I started keto this time because of blood pressure. I mean, that was the thing that I wanted to address. And as a result of that, I lost weight too. But I noticed when I was coming down the stairs in the morning, like I would hold onto the handrails because my knees ached, my ankles ached, my joints just ached in general. And once that was gone, I mean, the inflammation was gone, but the weight loss did help that a little bit too. Um, but yeah, it is, and there's the fat within, like your liver, the fat around your organs, that's the really dangerous stuff that you want to get rid of, which is, incidentally, that's the first thing that goes when you do, a keto diet. You start losing the fatty liver, pancreas, those things go away first. So, there's you can get really deep into that. So I'll just leave it right there.
Victor, are you saying that your body is smart enough to know which is the most important bits of fat that it needs to get rid of first for your health, and that it knows what order and in what timing to heal itself if you just stop poisoning it?
I am saying that, and that's absolutely how it works. That's why the
Crazy.
first thing to go is the cleaning your liver out so that your liver can do what it needs to do to help the rest of your body.
And Donna says, obesity feels like one of the most common discriminations in the world. It is socially acceptable and very socially the norm. I mean, you'll see that, like you see somebody walking by, even me, and I'm guilty of this. I'll see somebody who's huge and they're in a cart, they're in one of those like those scooters, and I see what they've got, and it's not so much out of like not trying to shame them in my mind, but I'm like, I kind of look at that and I'm like, how can I help them? Is there a way that is there something that I can do right now that can help them? And most of the time it's no, because they don't know me. How rude is it to go to say anything about what they've got going on? I don't know them, they don't know me. That's just ridiculous. And I want to help so bad. I want to be like, you shouldn't have the Mountain Dew and the cereal. And I, you know what I mean? Like, I've been here. Well, maybe not that far along, but it wasn't long in the tooth for me to be there. But, like I know it's a societal thing, and I see people, and it's like one of the things that we see more and more and more and more, the the obesity and stuff, and that's one thing that I've been mindful, like, too, when we drop the granddaughter off at school. I don't see Thankfully, I'm not seeing a lot of big kids. And I mean, maybe that'll come a little later. Maybe they're just so energetic right now, and that's one thing that I worry about with her. I worry about her eating the right foods and getting the right nutrition and getting the right mindset to grow up and make the right choices. And so, I mean, this is one of those things, because society is so big on discrimination and society is so harsh with just about everything. I worry about that, for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why it's so important what we're doing, and what all y'all do to help spread this is, with obesity or anything else, all the health things that are going on in the world right now. Type 2 diabetes is at an all-time high. I mean, it was unheard of, almost unheard of, 150 years ago. Um, but until somebody decides for themselves that they want to take steps to improve the quality of their life, the health conditions they might have, even as simple as weight, um, you know, no matter what you say to them is not going to help until they decide for themselves to do it. And just having the information out there like it is now, I mean, it's a powerful thing. And, I really appreciate, all of y'all helping to spread this message. And it's, like Donna said, it is socially acceptable. But, when you wake up in the morning and you feel a certain way and you need to change it, we're just trying to get the information out there to help you. And there's so many people a whole lot better than me that are doing that too. And but we're just all trying to do our part. And when somebody's ready to change, hopefully we can help them.
Absolutely. And I think that, this is what Victor and Dustin and I are really championing as we do this kind of stuff. This is why I said to both of these guys, like, hey, what do you think about us doing this whole thing? It was why this idea came about in the first place. There are so many people that need help and information, and they needed to come from someone who's not going to look at them and beat them up for being overweight and beat them up for not being good enough at this and being sick and all these kinds of things. Because there are times where people who are really struggling, it is very socially acceptable to kick them while they're down. And that's a real thing that is happening in the world around us. And I mean, ask Dustin and I especially how we know, but I'm sure even Victor in his own ways has struggled with this. But like when you get to be 400 pounds, you don't think people look at you like you're just worthless, like you're a lazy, good for nothing, like just sit around all day. Like there are so many stigmas and stereotypes that come along with that. And it's like everyone has a story and everyone has different reasons that they're struggling. We don't know about all the different things that each person is struggling with. And so when I talked with Victor and Dustin about like, hey, we should do this whole thing, part of this is like, we're not here to beat people up. We're not here to judge. We're here to talk about all of the different perspectives on the overarching core concept, which is this low carb, proper human diet approach can save billions of people. Because if we just give them information and we work with each other to all figure out how we make this work and how we sustain this kind of a lifestyle, we can not only help ourselves, but we can go out and help so many other people. And we can show people like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to feel like you're worthless. You have a place where you are welcome and you have people that are here to support you because we care about you and your well-being. And it doesn't matter if you're keto, if you're carnivore, if you're paleo, if you're low carb. I don't care about the labels. I think the labels are so stupid. And it's just a way that people want to divide it themselves so that they can all look down on someone else for doing it wrong. And it's it's this thing that it's like a cancer. It just becomes a sickness where everyone has to divide themselves up into little groups so we can all argue over who's got it all right. And it's like, in the meantime, we all look like a bunch of whack jobs who have all divided ourselves into various camps, and the rest of the world suffers and dies because we can't get it together. So that's why when Victor and Dustin and I started this, it's like, we're not here to judge people for how clean they do things, how hardcore carnivore they can go, how much salad they do or don't eat, what their belief is on fermented foods, like all of these different things that are argument points. That's not the bottom line. That is not why we're here. That is not the thing we focus on. What we focus on is people need help, and we are here to help people, and we are here to get the word out. And all of you who are watching, you are part of our communities. If you're not, if you're brand new and you don't know, have a clue who the three of us are, please let us know in the chat. Say hello so we can tell you guys about it, and hit the thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so we can have you guys be a part of our great big happy family here. But if you guys watch our channels, we are doing this trying to help people. And when you watch our channels, you share our videos, you subscribe, you give the links to your friends, you tell people about us, you tune in and comment to help the algorithm, all these things, you guys are working right alongside of us to get this message out there to help people. And this is not a joke. This is saving people's lives. If and Ash and I just watched yesterday, we just watched that documentary, The Magic Pill, and there's a number of amazing stories in that documentary, but one in particular, there is a little girl who is autistic and is nonverbal and eats just a trash diet, and her parents don't know, and so they go on what is essentially a high fat keto diet. And it's very difficult for that little girl at the beginning because of her autism and her food issues and all this kind of stuff. She struggles with textures. She struggles with safe foods and flavors and things that, a person who's neurotypical may not understand. But that right there, it's like, how would you look at someone like that and say, well, you're not doing keto right. You're not doing carnivore. You're not strong enough at this. You're not clean enough at that. You're this, you're that. Why would you beat someone like that up for not doing it correct or not doing it right? Like, that's ridiculous, and that's the level of illogical that argument has gotten to. And that's why it is so important all of us as a community stand here, because there are people out there just like that little girl whose parents don't know, who need this information. They need to be able to help themselves. They need to be able to help their kids, their families, their friends. They need to save people. And just like that little girl at the end of that documentary, where she's actually starting to learn to say some words, and she is calm and her brain function has improved and she is living a better life as someone who is an autistic child, just like her, there are millions and millions of people who need help for all various things that keto, carnivore, anything in between, doesn't matter, can help. And if you guys watching are part of this community with us, and if you help us, we can reach more and more and more people just like that little girl and give them a better life, because we can get that information out there. So instead of us all arguing, we want to be here so we can help each other, so we can support each other. And even if we all have slightly different approaches and tweaks, we can talk about all that all day long, and that's great. But at the end of the day, we stick together and we work together to get this information out there to try to save people like the autistic little girl, or her parents, or her grandparents, or any of the other people around the world that need this help.
That's a very powerful documentary. I watched it a couple years ago, and I remember seeing that very scene. And I would like to see, and I don't know if there is any follow up, if there's any like YouTube follow up with the girl and the parents. I need to look into that a little bit more. If anybody knows anything about that, put that in the chat, and we can talk about it later. Um, Amada has a comment. Amada says, "I used to have so much shame about being obese my entire life. Thanks to lots of carnivore YouTube lives and the carnivore cures constant reiteration, I realized that it wasn't me that's broken."
Absolutely. I think that pretty much just says it all. It's not you that's broken. It's the knowledge you were given. It's the situation you were set up in. It's the things that were provided to you. Those are what's broken. Now, all we got to do is just go fix those things and then get you back to being healthy and happy. That's all we got to do.
Yeah, that's not your fault. I mean, you got billions and billions of dollars in advertising stacked against you. I mean, the other things that don't. I mean, the whole food pyramid that we were all taught that's upside down. I mean, there's so many things that we've all grown up with that we tried to follow that just didn't work, and now the information's out there, and we're trying to spread it and help as many people as possible. That's what it's all about. So yeah, it's not you at all. It's the system.
And speaking of the system, it's such an uphill battle the more I think about it. Because I sent you guys a thing the other day that I started listening to that episode of Joe Rogan with Jillian Michaels, and I was kind of anticipating disagreeing with her on a lot of things, and I'm not. And I don't know what bizarro world we're in, but I know because she's been very anti keto, anti low carb for a very long time, and they haven't necessarily got to that side of the conversation yet. but they're just talking mainly about how deep and how many where the tentacles of the food industry and that lobbying and all of the advertising dollars and the subsidies go, because it's infiltrating our grocery stores, it's infiltrating our schools, it's infiltrating hospitals. You go in to have a surgery and they're giving you the lowest possible quality food that they can, and they're calling it healthy. And there's another thing, that I've talked to the boys about here. I've got a video in the works about uh, baby formula, because when our granddaughter was born 6 years, well, almost 7 years ago now, there was complications, and mom wasn't able to really breastfeed the way that she wanted to, so we had to go looking for an adequate formula, and it's impossible. Even now, almost 7 years later, I'm looking again, and so I'm putting this video together because even the expensive bougie brands, the expensive not bought on the store shelves, you have to order it, are just as bad, even though the marketing is different. Some of them may not use seed oil, some of them may use coconut oil, olive oil, or whatever, but none of them are using enough of the right fats. They're not truly mimicking breast milk, and they're starting with the lowest quality, the lowest common denominator ingredients. And so we have to think about this from the perspective of, we are behind the curve from birth. If you aren't fortunate enough to have a mother who's physically able to breastfeed you, and I'm not, and in this video and this take on this is nothing to do with whether or not mothers can or don't wish to, or whatever it is about breastfeeding. It's all comes down to, why is the formula so bad? Why are we paying such a high dollar amount for some of the shittiest ingredients that we can put it? Maltodextrin, there's canola oil, and I don't care if it's organic canola oil. I don't care. Then it's high fructose corn syrup and low fat milk, and the fat ratios are off. The saturated fats are, you know, 25 or less percent of what they should be. And it's just, we're charging $50 a can for something that's not adequate. And they know it. And there's a long history with that goes even deeper that I'll touch on in the video. But, you know, so if we're putting our kids at a disadvantage from birth, and then they're going into school, and your kids are eating school lunches, or you have to go to the hospital and you're eating hospital food, or you're just being taught whatever, and you're just buying from the center aisle of the grocery store by no malice of your own or whatever. You're just doing what you've been taught for all these years. You're just failure after failure after failure, because no one is out there actually teaching us the right way to do this on a grand enough scale. Yeah, there's us, there's Dr. Barry, but you figure Dr. Barry has a reach of, I would say, 10 million. He's got about 4 million subscribers on YouTube. How many people on Facebook, Twitter? So he's probably got a decent reach of 10 million. But in the grand scheme of 8 billion people, that's a drop in the bucket. And with, there's us, even with our combined sub counts, we're not up to anywhere near where he's at. But I mean, we have to, that's exactly why we're the Keto Crusade, because this is almost a fool's errand for us to go out and try to make a dent in this. But we have to. We can't not do it. It's so very valuable and so important that we can't let ourselves get in our own way by, again, back with the fat and the scale. And we can't lose our own battle, because everything's already against us. We have to be our own advocate. We have to be our own cheerleaders. We have to be everything. So we've got to have the pom-poms, and we got to be racing with you, passing batons and doing anything and all the sports metaphors. But I don't know. Sorry to go on that, but it's just one of those things, like, just the fact that it's so broken, it's just, sometimes it's overwhelming how broken it truly is.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Dustin. I'm actually glad you went on the rant because as you were saying this, it kind of made me sit here and think. I have a challenge for everyone watching this video. I want you to do this for me. Next time you go out to a restaurant, you go to a grocery store, you go to the bank, you go to the post office, I don't care, wherever you are, you're out shopping at the mall, anytime you are out, just try to remember to do this. Stop for a second. Look around you. Look at the people walking around you. And don't look at them and go, wow, they're so overweight. They should do something about that. Or, like any of these things. Don't look at them that way. Look at them and realize that there are people around you that are suffering because they don't know. Just stop and think about that for a minute and think about if you were in their spot and you didn't know what you know because you watch a live stream like this, you could be right where they are suffering. So if you are out and you see all these people around you, because all you have to do is go out in public in the United States and you'll see it everywhere. You see all these people suffering. We may not be able to change the world by just being one person doing it. But all of us working together as a community can go out and start changing as many of those people's lives as we possibly can by sharing this information. And then it's not just about us. We rope all of those people into it, and then they jump on the bandwagon and they start doing it, and then they rope more people in who jump on the bandwagon. And that's how we grow this. When I first started doing this, Dr. Barry said in a live stream I was watching one time, if you ever want to thank me, someone was thanking him for saving in their lives, which he saved mine too. So I understood. And he goes, if you want to thank me, go out and teach your friends and family about a proper human diet and help me spread this message. And I took that seriously and I started a YouTube channel. Now, I had no idea that it would end up what it is now, but I started a YouTube channel because I took what he said seriously. And I'm not saying you guys all have to go start YouTube channels, but when you go out in public, just stop. Take a deep breath for a second and look around you and look at how many people you are surrounded by that don't know. And if you can't feel the importance of why we need to tell people about this and how we need to all be working together as a community to try to get to as many people as we can. Can we change the whole world? No, it's going to take a lot of things to change the world. But we can change as many lives as we have access to the very best of our ability. And if we all do it and we all work together at it, we can change a whole lot more than if we all sit around waiting on someone else to do it. So I just want to challenge any of you watching this video, go out, look around you, see the people suffering, and use that as fuel and as a reminder of why you need to be spreading this message as best you can. And you don't have to go out and create your own YouTube videos. Teach your friends, teach your family, share our videos and our channels because we're already here doing all this work trying to help people. We need you guys not to go create your own videos necessarily, although you can if you want to, but we need you guys hitting the share button. And we need you sending it to the people that are important to you and telling them, you need to go watch these guys. Watch Keto Crusade, watch Chris's recipes, watch Victor's recipes, watch Dustin's research behind the scenes. Figure out how to make these things happen in your own life. And then when you've changed your life, then you go tell someone else and have them do the same thing. Keep passing it on. And just stand there while you're out in public and look at the people around you suffering and ask yourself, wouldn't you hope that someone like you would share that video with you? If you were still not in the know, if you still didn't understand these things, don't you wish that you would have found this information sooner? And if you were in that person's position, wouldn't you hope that someone like you would send them that video if you had the access to do so? Just take a minute while you're out in public and see the people around you suffering and ask yourself, what can you do to start helping people? Because if all of us do that every single day, this movement will become unstoppable because it works. It's not like we have to sell anything. We don't have to convince anyone of everything. We just have to share the information. And over time, as it works more and more and more, it will catch on with more and more people. That's the best thing about this. You don't have to try to sell anything or market anything or convince anybody of anything. the results will speak for themselves, and given time and people succeeding at it who continue sharing it, it will do the selling work and the marketing work for you. You don't have to go out there and fight for that. You just have to share the information. So just be on the team with us and help us share this information. And just look around you and see how much of the world is suffering and what can we do as a community to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I do that. I do that myself when I'm out. And I mean, what fires me up the most is the sickest people and the people that are suffering the most look at what's in their cart and it ain't the same stuff I'm buying. And that, I mean, that fires me up. I'm like, man, if they only knew, and like I said earlier, you got to want to change yourself. But Dustin, I'm so excited you're doing that video. I mean, there's so many studies that show that what the way you start your life determines what happens later in life, and whether it's the microbiome passed on to you from your parents or the type of formula that you're having, everything. I mean, it's so important to start the kids off right. And you're right. I mean, there's just such junk there, but it's because there can be. I mean, what other choice do you have? They're gonna put the cheapest ingredients in that they can possibly put in and sell it for the highest price they possibly can, so they can make the most money. And it's not about the health. It's like you've always heard cereal, or breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, it is to the companies making the breakfast cereal. It's not. It's not for you. I mean, it's all about the profits. And once people find out this kind of information, and voting with your dollars, and if there's these junky formulas out there, and there's a better option, we need to share that and let people know there's a better option. I haven't looked at formula in many years. It's been a while, but I know it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And that's the way the kids come up and what they're being fed is going to determine what happens later in their life. So I'm glad you're doing that video. I'm excited for that one because, um, like I said, I haven't looked at it in a long time, but I know it's junk. It was junk. When my son's 18 now, when he was when he was young, it was junk then. So I can only imagine it's worse now.
Because I mean, not even is it just the ingredients, but it's also the social pressure and the marketing that goes into making mothers think they need to use it. Or like, oh, it's more convenient than breastfeeding. Or because I know, like, granted, there's been a resurgence in the last couple of years, especially like with a lot of offices that I've worked where they've gone and modified rooms and made them pump rooms and put in like where they can wash their hands and wash out the equipment and stuff, and they can go when they're and go and do all their pumping and all that stuff, and for the breastfeeding mothers, because that's a lot, especially newborns got to feed every 3 hours. I mean, from start to finish. So from start of the feed to where they eat again is 3 hours. So as you start to feed them, that clock starts. It's 3 hours until they eat again, till they start eating again, and it's just one of those things that they have to eat, and it's a lot of. I mean, it's how many mothers do we have in here? Fathers. We know it's a lot of work, but it's kind of like it's the same kind of thing how they marketed Crisco, because it's made in it's almost like they were saying it's made in a lab. It's cleaner than lard and tallow, which was made from a butcher floor. Because they know, and I mean, it's just such a it almost kind of knocks the wind out of your sails sometimes, because I know we do what we do and we're so gung ho about all this, and sometimes you just kind of stop and take a look at the broad spectrum of what we are dealing with and how deep it runs, and then and just like but and then we come and we do this and we see all these wonderful comments, and we're talking back again, circling back to what you said, Chris, where we're being out in public. I try to not pose or push my ideas on anyone. But if somebody asks the right questions, I don't turn down an opportunity. So like I was leaving BW3s the other night, and I was picking up some wings on Half Price Tuesday, and I was coming out, and this guy was going into the gym next door, and he was telling me, he's like, "Oh, you got a great beard." I was like, "Oh, thanks." I don't know how the conversation turned to him having fatty liver. He was a skinny guy. You wouldn't anticipate him having fatty liver, but he's like, I'm trying to do this fatty liver and just diabetes. And I was like, if you want to take care of that without medication, go check out Dr. Barry. I didn't tell him about me because I'm not the channel for that. Dr. Barry is the channel for that. Dr. Barry has probably 4 or 5 videos on that. It's easier to Dr. Barry. You're going to search for it. You're going to Dr. Barry fatty liver. You're going to find something, you know? So that brings somebody else into the fold. Will they find me? Maybe, but that's not the point. My point is just to get people to the community. If somebody needs a recipe, I send them to Chris. You know, if they need to look at a yellow bowl, I send them to Victor. You know, but you know, it's just one of those things. Like, we just need to get them here, and there's nothing. I'm shameless, but I'm not rude. I'm not going to go up to somebody who as much as I want to just hug them and tell them it's going to be okay, I've got the plan. That doesn't work. And I saw, you know, somebody saying, like, in the comments, you know, like, you just can't convince someone to make changes. Indie Andy Carnivore says it's not easy to convince anyone to make a change for the best when they don't have faith or they don't know who you are. You know, if I'm at Walmart or Kroger and I'm just some rando, and they're like, "What are you talking about? Why are you talking to me?" But if I'm putting up 4 or 5 10-pound rolls of hamburger on a conveyor belt and hot dogs and steaks and all this stuff on the conveyor belt, and they're like, "Are you having a cookout?" And I'm like, "I'm glad you asked." No, this is how I eat. And, you know, a conversation starts because that's crazy to people, and they're more willing to listen because you just kind of shocked and awed them. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's so great too that there's a lot of doctors out there that have gotten into this, you know, and it's not what they were taught in medical school, it's what they learned outside of medical school. And you can say, hey, this crazy Dr. Berry guy, you know, he's got the solution for that thing, and you know, this other guy's got the solution for that. And you know, a lot of times people, I mean, you know, my friends, you know, very few times they're going to come to me and say, "Hey, have you got a good solution for this?" Because I mean, you know, 20, 30 years ago, we were doing crazy stuff. So, you know, it's always better to me if you've got somebody else, you know, that you can point them to, like, hey, or you know, if they say, "Well, what, you know, you look good, or you've lost weight, or whatever the case is," point them to somebody else. That way, it's not coming from you. You know, it's coming from, you know, a third party, and maybe it resonates with them, and you know, maybe that'll change their mind if they're ready to change. They wouldn't ask you if they didn't. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I was in the grocery store the other day, and I had a lady that I was grabbing some cauliflower rice, and she's like, "Oh," she said, I'm glad you were here." She said, "You know, I was wondering about that, how good that is." And I didn't say anything about my channel, what I did, or anything like that. I'm like, "Hey, it's great. You know, it's a lot better for me than rice. You know, for whatever." And you know, even if she goes and makes you know, a carb rich gravy, you know, just that one little change is going to help in some way. And I mean, you can't tell the difference in the two when when you cook them if you're putting stuff on it. So you know, I don't, you know, I'm the same way. I don't really talk about my channel. Same thing. Another grocery store. I was getting some of the keto bread, which I don't get very often. But one she was like, why do you like that so much?" I'm like, "Well, it's good for my blood sugar." And I didn't mention anything, just little things. But I mean, the little things like that add up over time. And you know, I could have said, "Hey, I got a YouTube channel. You go check it out." But I think that was more effective than, you know, than what that is. And I could have pointed her to Dr. Berry or whatever. But uh, anyway, yeah, it's wild how conversations start over little things, and you know, you could change somebody's life just by one little comment you make. So it's pretty cool.
And
I
Sean's
think
got a good point here. I'm sorry, were you going to say something, Chris?
I was just going to say, I think one of the best things you can do is just be unapologetically keto, carnivore, whatever it is you do. I mean, I'm a carnivore guy, you know, Victor's keto, Dustin's keto. We just unapologetically do what it is. And when people see you being different, and especially people that know you, see you getting results in your life, they start asking you questions. People that want to know are going to ask.
And Sean's got a good point. So he says one thing that Coach Bronson Dant preaches is that you have to give what you're trying time to work. If you keep changing things too fast, your body never gets a chance to get used to it. And I've seen this a lot with social media. I'll see this with somebody who comes in, they make a video. I'm doing carnivore, or I'm doing triple B and E, and they do it for a week. And I'm not seeing results. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do a sardine fast now, or I'm going to do the egg fast now, or I'm going to do, and I mean, and it's not really any fault of the creator if they're legitimately trying these things for the better, unless they're trying to make videos just for views. And you have that from time to time. But I think where I see people who are so desperate for to see changes in themselves because they're unhappy, they're miserable, they're just in a place that they just need help and hope. And so they see something new and they just jump on it, but then they never really give it a chance to truly take hold to see if it benefits them or not. And then they're off to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then, then they're, well, keto didn't work for me. So I'm going back to Weight Watchers, or that didn't work. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to go and do whatever. And I think we really need, slow down. You didn't put on 400 pounds in 6 months. I mean, maybe you did, but that's rare. But you didn't get there overnight. You're not going to fix it overnight. And if you are losing a pound a week, a pound a month, you're going in the right direction. See it through.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that kind of goes back to that thing, I was saying at the beginning of this live stream where I was talking about we get so focused on, I need to lose fat. 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 So we bounce from one thing to another, to another, to another, and we never see the result that we're looking for. And it's like, are you giving your body truly time to heal? Are you paying attention to the other markers that are perhaps far more important than how much excess fat you're holding on to right now? Because if you try something and all of these great things happen inside your body, but you don't know because the only thing you're focused on is the fact that you're not losing the fat on your body as fast as you think you should be losing it, well, then you switch to something else and it's not doing as good of a job. And so then you switch to something else and, well, that's not doing as good of a job. How would you ever know that that first thing you tried was actually healing your body and would have then led to that weight loss given time if you bounce from one thing to another, to another, to another, and you don't pay attention to the actual underlying markers of the metabolic disease that has caused that fat in the first place? So I think it's really important to be patient. And Dr. Barry talks about that all the time. He says, have vitamin P, take a daily dose of vitamin P. It's called patience, and it's not easy, but it's really important. I sometimes when people ask, like, because I get this question a lot, it's like, well, if you're a carnivore, why are you still overweight? And it's like, well, for one thing, I was 400 pounds at one point and I've lost 130 pounds. So my body's got some catching up to do, and it took me decades to get to be 400 pounds. I'm not going to lose all of that excess weight in a year. I mean, maybe I could if I really pushed hard, but it's like, how sustainable would that then be for me? I would probably gain a bunch of weight back because I wouldn't be able to maintain that. So it's like, I'd rather lose slow and steady and work on the underlying health issues. Plus, with my brain and all of the other things that I have going on, if I never lost another pound, I would still keep doing what I'm doing because I am a completely different person than I was 3 years ago. None of you guys on here ever saw me before I was Chris Cooking Nashville, and I was already partway into my carnivore journey when I started my channel. None of you ever saw the person that I was that couldn't get off the couch and thought that I was just worthless and I just couldn't focus on anything and I had no desire to do anything in life. None of you guys ever saw that. So if I wasn't losing fat fast enough and I got to the point, well, this isn't going to work, so I'm going to go try vegan juicing now. I'm going to go try this other thing. I'm going to do whatever. If I hadn't paid attention to all of the other amazing benefits that just keep getting better in my life, I would have missed out on all of these amazing things that have happened and all of this healing that I have found because I was just focused on the fat and I was bouncing from one thing to the next way too rapidly. So it's just a thought. Some vitamin P does all of us a lot of good.
Yep, that is the truth.
There's another one I think I wanted to look at here. Let me see. Let's see. I wanted to talk about. Let's see. I had one queued up here from Rockin' Keto Amy. I just got to get back to it. This is one thing that I want to talk about too. So she says, "Well, I hate to say it, even after weight loss, there isn't a flat stomach. There is skin issues and wrinkles, and I think Amy's gorgeous. She's a beautiful person inside and out, and she's well on her way to being where she needs to be. And it's like I don't anticipate ever having a flat stomach. I know if I ever get to the point where my belly's gone, it's gonna look like just like a trash bag. It's gonna be there, and I'm not really that vain to where I would want. And I'm not trying to say that people who go through the skin removal surgery are vain and all that stuff, because I know a lot of wonderful people who have done it. But I've seen what you go through, and that looks awful. And I know if any of you have been here have done it, I'm sure it's worth it in the end. But that looks treacherous, and it's way more dangerous. And I don't know. It's just one of those things. I would rather have that. Look what I've accomplished. Look what I've got left. Look what I've accomplished. I've done the damn thing. Here I am, flaws and all, and I'm here to show you that you can do it too. And so, I mean, that's where whether you decide to keep the excess skin and the wrinkles, and be who you are because you're beautiful.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was just sitting here thinking as you were saying that, Dustin, I think one of the big issues that we're fighting against with this is we think that if we look in the mirror and we see things that aren't perfect, that means we still have something we're failing at. And I think the idea of what you're supposed to be as a human being has been really messed up by media and by society. And so again, that goes back to that thing of who cares about the fat? That's just trying to appease society, telling you have to look a certain way. Who cares if you have a little extra fat? Who cares if you have wrinkles, if you have saggy skin, if you have whatever, list whatever the things are you're self-conscious about. If you are under the hood healthy, if you are metabolically healthy and you have an active, fun, fulfilling life where you feel good, you get to spend your time with the people that you love, doing the things that are important to you, you get to help other people along this journey, you get to do all of these amazing things in your life, and you get to live your life to the fullest for as long as you possibly can, taking care of your health. Who gives a shit about the fat and the wrinkles? Who cares? It doesn't matter. And the people that are telling you that it matters have apparently so little self-worth that they think you can't possibly be a worthwhile human being. So I got to figure out how to nitpick every last little thing that I can. You guys don't need to get rid of the last 3 pounds of fat, the last wrinkles, the last bit of saggy skin to be worthwhile. You're already worthwhile. You're beautiful exactly as you are. Now, that doesn't mean you're healthy exactly as you are. That's two very different things. You need to do the things that are good for your body to be healthy. And you need to love the fact that you're a beautiful human being inside and out, regardless of where on that journey you are. And this is one of the things, and Dustin and Victor will tell you, I'll get preaching, I'll get fired up about this. I will go off on this and I will tell people where to shove it, because I do not sit by and tolerate people beating other people up for not being perfect, because none of us is perfect. And it's okay that we're not perfect. You guys are beautiful and wonderful exactly the way you are. You were created to be exactly who you are. So don't try to change that into something that meets somebody else's standards of what they think you should be. You be healthy, you be happy, you enjoy your life, you use keto, use carnivore, whatever it is you're doing. Eat the right stuff for your body. Make yourself metabolically healthy. Enjoy your life. Take care of your children, your parents, your brothers and sisters, your grandkids, your friends and neighbors. Love the people that you are around. Have a good influence on the sphere of people that is around you. Make your piece of the world better than it was when you found it. And you will have a long, amazing, fulfilling life. And none of those other idiots and assholes on the internet that tell you that you are wrinkly and saggy will ever make an impact on the world like you will. Because none of that stuff matters.
Chris, you were on it tonight, brother. Chris's Sunday sermon. I'm gonna say, I can't add nothing to that. You were absolutely right. If somebody, if all they have to offer is that you've got sagging skin and you're worthless, do you need them in your life anyway? No. I mean, it's you're worth it. Your health is worth it. Whatever happens after that, if you want to do it for cosmetic reasons, that's totally up to you. But it shouldn't be because society tells you that's what you should do. If you have to do it for health reasons, that's a totally different thing. But you do you. Be happy in your own body, and if you are, then that's what matters at the end of the day. You be healthy and don't be pretty and in bad shape or dead, like I was talking about with the models earlier. That has happened a lot. So anyway, Chris, you killed it, brother. There you go.
Sometimes we just gotta let Chris off his leash, and then Victor and I can just sit back and relax.
Get the dog barking.
Absolutely.
Here's a great comment from our friend Scott over at Platte River Keto. He says that 4 years ago I was so desperate. I'm glad that a friend was willing to be brave and tell me about the carnivore diet. It literally saved my life. I was 475 pounds.
Wow.
And Scott is here today talking about the amazing changes that the carnivore diet has made in his life. And do you think Scott cares if he has a few wrinkles or some extra skin somewhere?
He gets in my lives on Sunday mornings and talks about, he's like, he listens for a while, chats, and he's like, well, I'm going to go ruck with the dogs. He goes and he does it, and then he comes back and hangs out with us. He listens while he's doing it. And I mean, I can't ask for better than that. I mean, that's something like that. That's one of the things that blows me away about this community is the fact that, people come in and they share their lives and they listen and they're intent and, they're willing to share their stories, because our stories, while inspirational, they're embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a very embarrassing aspects of our journeys, like, I mean, and I've talked about a lot of my embarrassing stories, things that I've had to put up with. And, a lot of people aren't brave enough to talk about those things. They aren't brave enough to talk about carnivore with a good friend. I mean, you can't be mean and nasty about it. It won't work. But luckily, Scott seemed to have a person that was truly, there for them and the true good friend and helped them and showed them, a path to something better. And Scott was smart enough to go down that path.
Absolutely. I think one of the keys of this comment right here, too, is I'm so glad that a friend, not a bully, not an idiot on the internet who thinks I'm fat, not someone who's like, look how carnivore I am and you're not doing it right and let me beat you up for not being meat, salt, water. None of that crap. That is not what changed Scott's life. What changed Scott's life was a friend that was willing to tell me about what they were doing because they cared. That's how you change people's lives.
100%. And let's see. Diane with some love for us three. She says, I must say you three fellows are a godsend. Thank you for educating us and working hard at giving us healthy recipes to keep us on track. Judgment will always be part of society. Let's love, not hate. 100%.
Absolutely. Diane, you're very right. And here's the deal, guys. Judgment will always be part of society, but we as a community do not have to partake in it, and we do not have to tolerate it and sit back and watch people who are struggling get beaten up without saying anything. And that's the difference. We as a community politely and professionally and if, with care, can tell people who are being judgmental to shut up, and we can tell the people they were judging and beating up, you know what? You're not alone, and you don't deserve to be treated that way. You can come hang out at Keto Crusade, and you can come hang out at Dustin with Keto Simple and Victor with Southern Keto, and go get some recipes at Chris Cooking Nashville, and you can find a really large community of people who love you exactly as you are and just want to help you get better.
Yeah, Diane, thank you so much for your comment, and so glad we can help you.
And Sean, Mr. SD Bradley says everyone's running a different race. We're all starting from a different place. Just because someone is still quote unquote fat doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Because even if you're doing everything 100% right, it's gonna take time. And none of us do it 100% right. Not a single one of us. Because if we were doing it right, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Sean. Sean's a good friend of all of our channels.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Dahlia says, we are all just humans. If I slip, I just dust myself off, get back on track. No biggie, no issue for me. I just try and focus and move along.
Absolutely. That's right. That's what you got to do. Everybody slips up, and the main thing is how fast you get back on track, and just do what you were doing before, because it works, and you know it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, boys. I haven't looked at a lot of the newer comments coming in. I've had Dazzle All that I've had starred from like the first half. Is there anything you guys want to touch on?
I saw a comment that had popped up. Someone was new from the YouTube algorithm, and they were asking about our various diets, like if we were keto, if we were carnivore, whatever. And if there's new people in the chat, they might find that a little bit interesting, just to kind of know the little brief 3-sentence version of what each of our stories is, maybe, and kind of what we're sort of doing. So if you guys are new to the chat, I'm Chris Cooking Nashville, and I've lost 130 pounds eating a loose carnivore diet, all animal-based type stuff. And I started keto, but ended up finding that I had a brain awakening from being carnivore, and there's a lot of amazing things that have happened for me. And so I started a YouTube channel to try to help other people do so. So it's lots of meat, lots of eggs, maybe a little bit of dairy, and occasionally fancy recipes. And every now and then I lean a little more keto and have a few of those kinds of things, maybe for one meal. And then I go right back to doing my carnivore thing.
Yep, and I'm Victor with Southern Keto, and I started out kind of wanting to take standard American diet foods and Southern recipes and make them healthier so that I could still enjoy them myself. I've lost somewhere between 75 and 85 pounds. I started to fix my blood pressure because if I didn't, I was going to die at a real early age, and I ended up losing weight as a result of that also. My background before I got messed up that was in holistic health, personal training, and nutrition. And then I got away from all that, got really messed up, and now I'm back to doing that again. So really, I think kind of my place in this is helping people transition away from standard American diet to healthier versions of it. Do a lot of desserts and things like that, which a lot of people give me grief for. But if you got a choice between eating a healthy keto dessert or a standard American sugar-filled dessert, I take the keto every time, and I think it really helps people transition even away from desserts. If you don't want to do desserts, I still do desserts all the time. I think it's a great thing. I make some of Chris's carnivore desserts. I'm not carnivore. I'm keto. I do salads and some plant-based stuff, higher fat, moderate protein, and low carb. So that's my place in this. And Chris has got some killer recipes also. So, And Dustin's got some great recipes. Go back and watch some of his videos, and hopefully he'll start doing some more at some point.
I'm working on it, gentlemen. I got into where I was doing a recipe video or two every week, and it was different back then because that's how I was cooking all the time. So when my cooking shifted and my cooking changed, then making recipes became a little more difficult. And I was cooking things that I wasn't going to eat right away. But basically, to get to my history, Dustin, Keto Simple, I started in 2016. Uh, High level here, I was over 420 pounds. Um, I didn't realize how heavy I was. I hadn't been on the scale in a long time. Went in to have some hernia surgery, and I was working on getting the hernia surgery and working on getting a CPAP for my sleep apnea, which was very severe. And stepped on the scale, realized I was over 420 pounds. The wife and I decided we're going to go low carb. Didn't have any idea what that meant. So, I mean, that was a learning experience for us trying to decide and figure out and navigate what low carb was. Didn't have any idea what keto was at the time. So we found that, transitioned to keto that same year. I didn't start this channel until I think the first video came out in 2020, the early 2020. A friend of mine edited it for me, actually put the channel together for me because I had no idea what it was all about. And started actually making this channel myself in 2021, January 1st, and I've been doing it ever since. So I've lost, at my lowest, I was over 150 pounds. I got down to 273 pounds from over 420. I would consider myself more, not to upset Victor, but ketovore. I mean, I'm more carnivore. But I do eat keto stuff, and I do eat some desserts from time to time, and I like my triple B and E. I feel that gets me through a lot of the food noise because I'm a recovering food addict, a lot of severe food addiction. So that's a lot of what goes on with me, yeah, I like to make videos where I'm trying to be informative for things that I think people need to know. Hopefully, you guys agree. So yeah, and I will get back to doing recipes. I just have to get there. But I have like 92 recipes, and they're all on a playlist on my YouTube page.
Yeah, and they're good.
Dustin's a baller, and he just acts like he's not.
I can barely dribble. I'm humble to a fault. I mean, it's kind of annoyingly so sometimes, but But I just wanted to also talk about, so if you know what lowcarbevents.com is, we are doing a meetup. I am doing a meetup with some other people. These two gentlemen are invited, but won't necessarily be in attendance. We are doing a meetup in Amo, Indiana, Central Indiana, on May 24th. It's a Saturday from about 11 or 12 to about 5. Um, all the details are on lowcarbevents.com. I will be there. Jaqueline will be there. Jackie Smith will be there. Jennifer Lucas, our friends Two Crazy Ketos will be in attendance. So go check that out. We'd love to have you RSVP. Let us know if you're coming. Truly love to have all of you come and hang out. It's drive from as far as you want, but I understand that that's a difficult task to do. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish I could be there, but work calls, so I will not. Maybe sometime in the fall, once I slow down a little bit with work and everything, I'll be able to do a little bit more traveling.
We'll probably do another one, depending on how this one turns out. We'll probably do another one in November. When it'll be like a Friendsgiving type thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So, do you guys have anything planned? What's some of the next videos you guys coming out? Any any clue on some new recipes, anything you got coming out? I know, Victor, you talked about a video you got coming out next week.
Yeah, I've got the natural Ozempic. So, yeah, one of my I studied herbalism for a long time, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and herbs. The Appalachian Mountains down here where I live is second in the world to China in medicinal herbs. So I was able to study under a lady here that has she actually puts on a lot of events down here or classes, workshops. Patricia Curacy Howell, and she'll take us out in the woods and show us how to farm, and identify plants and all that, and teaches. So I got to study under her years ago, and so herbalism's really. I mean, I love the medicine of plants and how they can help your body's systems work more efficiently. Um, and it all starts with diet, but these are just things you can add on top to kind of help, your organs and things like that. So anyway, this is a GLP-1 natural Ozempic thing. And then I've also got next week, I had an old meatloaf recipe and I've redone that. And also probably put out a video I've tried and tried because so many people asked for it. I tried multiple times to do a chaffle with no egg and no cheese. So what you would call that, I don't know. But anyway, I'm done with that experiment, and I'll probably put that out just as a funny. I mean, it's absolutely horrible, but I'll probably end up putting that out just for comedic effect, if nothing else. So anyway, that's what I got going on right now, and I've got a project that I've been working on for a long time. It's in the testing phases now, and so hopefully you'll be hearing about that in the coming month. But got some good stuff going on.
You said no egg and no cheese?
Yes.
That sounds delicious.
It'd be a full, no cheese, yeah. So anyway, it's pretty funny. I thought I had it down. I had the taste down. Yeah, you'll just have to see the results. It's bad.
I love it. I love it. Chris?
But I'm done with that experiment. I'm telling you, Chris could probably do it. He could probably come up with something like that. I can't.
You didn't add enough pickle juice or something. I don't know.
That's right. That's right. Maybe we'll have to play around with that and see if Victor and I are working together if we can't do something crazy in the kitchen. But that sounds really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So yeah, for me on Saturday, so 6 days away, we will be unveiling the 90-second carnivore bread. And it's really good, y'all. It's really, really good. I have made it several different times for things. I'm really looking forward to sharing it. And then the following Saturday, we'll be doing actually something really special with that carnivore bread. I'm not going to say anything more than that right now, but it's been a request for a long time. So we're going to be doing something special the next Saturday. So that's going to be the next couple of weeks of those big recipes. Yeah, I mean, there's maybe some other video stuff coming out. I'm working on recipes all the time. I'm in the midst of writing a cookbook right now, so that's going on. Also, Dustin, I shared this. I don't know if you can pop it up on the screen as a little media share thing that I did, but I am part of the favorite chef competition with Carla Hall. So if you guys wouldn't mind, it is free to vote. All you have to do is go over to the favorite chef competition. You can literally Google like favorite chef, or if you go to any of my latest videos that I've put up, I have the link where you can go vote. It just has you log into a Facebook account to prove you're a human being, so you're not scamming the system and voting for someone 5 million times or something. But if you guys would go vote, I would really appreciate this. So the winner of this, there's a monetary prize I don't really care too much about. It would be nice, but just invest it right back into the channel. But more importantly, if you win this, if we could win this, you end up getting a chance to cook with Carla Hall, and you get a feature in Taste of Home magazine as the winner of the favorite chef competition. Can you guys imagine how crazy it would be to see a proper human diet chef win a mainstream media cooking competition based on social media? Like, you want to talk about a way to show the world that we are not just a small niche group of people that are crazy. This is a chance for us to go do that, to get the word out about a proper human diet. So if you guys don't mind, set a reminder in your phones. You can vote once every 24 hours for free. You can pay to do other votes. I'm not asking anybody to do that. I'm not trying to get anybody to give any more money to anything. Just go do the free vote for me every 24 hours and just tell everyone you know to do the same thing, and just try to help me get through there. I see in my channel, at least, Ash has dropped the link for my favorite chef profile where you can go vote in the comments section. So perfect. So that is there for you guys. But like I said, any of my latest videos over the last couple of weeks, live streams, any of that, you can find that link. Or if you can't find it, just send me a message and I'll send it to you. But I just appreciate everybody voting. It's going to make a huge difference to have all of your support, but we're just trying to, get the word out about a proper human diet, and that you can do amazing things in the kitchen while using ingredients that are healthy for you. And like I said, you want to talk about a way to drop into mainstream media. How cool would it be to see proper human diet chef with Food Network level chefs? Like, that would just be a really cool thing, not even for me, just for the proper human diet community as a whole, getting the word out there of, like, guess what? This is a growing thing and it's not going away because it's working, it's saving people, and it's helping. So I would appreciate the votes very much. But yeah, so the 90-second carnivore bread and that favorite chef competition are the two ones to hopefully get you guys excited about.
Yeah, and I'll put the link to that in the private Facebook group too. And I meant to mention that if y'all are not in my private Facebook group in any of my videos, I've got a link to it down there. But I'll put the link for Chris's competition in there later on. And if you go in and vote, then they'll send you a reminder, so you can go in and vote every day. And yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, talk about spreading the message. That's going to do it. And I saw a comment. It's hard for me to keep up with the comments as fast as they're going here, but I did see one comment that I wanted to read for Chris. It's from John Wise, and I'm not sure. It said 90-second bread, not minute. But Chris, why can't you do it in a minute instead of? Why does it take 90 seconds?
I know. Listen, I always have to be difficult, and I wanted to do a 60-second bread, but then I figured it would make everybody too happy if I did that, so I added an extra 30 seconds just to upset everyone a little bit.
Funny thing is when he's got this, he sent me a text. He goes, "All right, I've got this thing. There's no excuses. You have to make it."
Okay, so I did this because Dustin, I love these two guys. These guys are my brothers, and I love these guys. They make such a huge difference in my own journey. But I also like giving them a hard time from time to time because that's just really important. So one of the things I like to give Dustin a hard time about is the first comment Dustin ever made on my channel was, "This looks really interesting. It's really creative. I would never do this much work to make any of you."
That's so true.
And I was like, "Who's this douche?" And I went and I found him, and Dustin's a really cool guy. But it's funny, we've joked about it. He loves my recipes because I've cooked a few of them for him. He loves my recipes. He just doesn't want to do the work to cook them, which I can't blame him because he likes simple food, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't want to go spend all the time in the kitchen that I do, I totally get that. So I texted him and I was like, "All right, it's a 90-second bread. It takes one bowl. You cannot possibly tell me that this one is something you can't do. You've actually got to give this one a shot." So it's we're gonna work with Dustin. I'm gonna see if I can convince him to get in the kitchen and make this 90-second bread.
I mean, if I had all the toys, all the kitchen toys that you had, then I'd be more prone to making some of those things. But I'll be like, "Oh, that looks so good." I'm like, "Oh wait, we gotta make it." And it's got to go to the dehydrator, then the oven, then you got to set it outside, let the moon get on it. I'm like, "Oh, come on, guys!" I mean, I'm struggling some days to put 4 burger patties in this cast iron skillet.
I understand. It's great.
But I mean, it's one of the things is I love his recipes. I love that people put as much effort into them as they do. He's been, other creators have made his recipes. I mean, some creators have even gone in and tried to say they're theirs, but I'm not. We're not here to name names, but that was hilarious. And then
Yeah.
and it's the fun of YouTube. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think you're. I am never going to not speak highly of you. And like I think you are a wizard. I think you went to Hogwarts. You're not telling anybody, and that hurts my feelings because I want to know, like, did you know Dobby? I mean, what was happening? But you know, um, but all joking aside, I think he's doing revolutionary things, and I think you deserve to win that contest. And it
Mm,
would be awesome to see you on the TV. I mean, I see you on TV 2 or 3 times a week, but
yeah.
that's not what I mean. And in print, and you and Victor do great things. And I'm so glad to be doing this with you guys. And I just want to take a quick second here. This came in from our friend Vinyl Revival. Bonjour, everybody. Here's a treat for you, Dustin, for doing keto, whether it's a coffee or a shot of Jack. Enjoy, my friend. Thank you so much. He is a good dude. I love this guy.
It's awesome.
Dustin, since you've been to Chris's house and I haven't, was there a room in that house that you didn't get to see? Because I think there's some sort of a Dr. Frankenstein style lab in there.
I
And I
didn't
know you've been in
actually.
to see.
I've been in every room in their house except their bedroom. So I don't know if that's where the magic happens.
Any comment that I make is going to get me in trouble with my wife as soon as I walk out of the studio. So I'm just not going to say
I
anything.
mean, I set you up. I set you up. I set you up.
You did.
It's going to be our 4-year wedding anniversary coming up here in a couple of weeks, and I have been married long enough to know to keep my mouth shut.
So what anniversary is this? Is this the carnivore mashed potato anniversary?
I'm not sure which one this is. I'm not sure. I don't know. Is egg white powder the appropriate?
I mean, it's probably expensive enough to be a gift.
Anymore it is.
Well, gentlemen, all you lovely people in the chats on all three of our pages, those who are watching over on my Twitter account, you guys are amazing. Thank you for being here with us. Again, our deepest apologies for not being here last month, but we're here now.
Right.
That's right.
I think that about wraps it up for us. Any last minute things you want to say, except for was that the do or do not? There is no try.
That's right.
That's it.
Doing it and doing it and doing it well.
That's right.
Thank y'all for being here. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, we honestly, guys, like all three of us put you guys. If you haven't tried to run a YouTube channel, you would have no way of knowing how many hours of work go into doing the things that the three of us do. We don't do it because it makes us rich doing it. We do it because we love helping you guys, and we love this community, and we love trying to support each other and support all of you guys in your journeys. And we're just trying to do this all together. And you guys keep showing up, and we just appreciate it. And I love both of these guys so much because my journey is just 100 times better because of both of them being in my life. And we've gotten to be such good friends doing this. And there's so many of you in the comments section that we've all gotten to know so well. And some of you in person, some of you just digitally, but it doesn't matter. We just love all of you guys. And it's always humbling to see how many of you show up and just share your lives with us. And we just appreciate every last bit of it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you all. And with that, let's roll those credits, and we'll see you next time.